After a trip to the wineries of Long Island, I'm making a dish to go with any wine. It's sweet and sour pork chops. Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Let's Celebrate TV. I'm your host, Peter Lee. So today we just got home from a trip to the wineries out on the North Fork of Long Island. And we went out to visit friends and we took a couple other friends with us, our friends Rich and Joe. Now Rich is staying for dinner and I wanted to make him something a little different and a little special. So I reached into my family recipe and I found this. We're making sweet and sour pork chops. Now this is an old recipe. The sweet and sour part was common in the 40s and 50s, like after World War II. Sometimes this flavor profile was called Polynesian because it has pineapples and red bell peppers in it. So it's very easy. Let's get started. We're starting, I have just two pretty nice pork chops here. Hot cast iron. I'm gonna actually salt and pepper first. Always with the salt and pepper. This should be pretty hot. And we're just going to sear these. A little olive oil in the pan. And it's kind of shimmering, which says that the pan is hot. So that's pretty good. So into the pan. That's what you want to hear. A little salt and pepper on this side. And we're really just going to sear these and let them get a little bit of crust on. Takes 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Get rid of this. Now this was a recipe that my mother would make 2 or 3 times a year, and it was a big hit with the kids, of course, because it's sweet and it has pineapple in it. But what I like about it now is you can take this in a million different directions. You can use it with chicken or shrimp or a nice white fish like haddock or cod maybe. You can change it a little bit. You can make it more sour, more sweet. You could throw in some chilies and make it a little spicy too. So it's just really a fun, different thing. And fortunately, these flavor profiles are coming back into vogue right now. So you'll be seeing a lot more of these. All right, now these are ready to turn. Look at that. That's exactly what you want. Now, these are just going to stay on this other side for a minute or so. And then I'm going to put them in a preheated oven that's preheated to 325 degrees just to finish off. Because these are kind of thin chops and in this hot pan they're cooking all the way. They're almost all the way cooked, but I want to finish them. So maybe 5 minutes in a 300 degree oven, 325. All right, these are ready for the oven. So off we go. Okay, we're back. And I'm taking my pork chops out of the oven. Now these are reading just barely 140, which is perfect. We just want to let them sit and rest. Now it'll be okay when you cut these if there's a little pink, you know, that whole trichinosis thing hasn't been that forever. So don't overcook your pork. I'm just going to put these in the back here with a little light coating of foil on them, just so they can rest. All right, now for the sauce. In the same pan. Easy, easy peasy. Now I think this has enough oil in it. We're going to start with the onions, because what's better than onions frying? Okay. Sure, let me grab. Now you just want to let these soften, maybe get a little brown. You don't have to cook them all the way, because it's kind of a lighter sauce. Just enough to get them going. At this point, it's okay to add a little salt and pepper if you want, but I wouldn't add too much salt because we're going to be using soy sauce in this, but definitely some pepper. So we get our onions going, and then I have red bell pepper. And this is just plain ordinary red peppers. Into the pot. And you see, I've just got them diced up. Nothing fancy. I try and keep the onions all the same size and the peppers the same size so that they'll cook at the same rate. Alrighty. Okay. These are going nicely. Now for the sweet part. I have a can of crushed pineapple in juice. Always in juice, never syrup. I like using the crush because I like the consistency of it. But you can use niblets or the big chunks. You can even do rings if you wanted to. When my mother made this, I think all you could get was rings, so that's what she used. But today I'm using crushed. And guess what? It goes right in the pot. And I wish you could smell this, because the pineapple hitting the heat, and this is like a medium-high heat, with the onions and peppers, it's just wonderful. It's already that sweet and sour smell. All right, we're just gonna let this go for a minute, or a moment. Let's turn up the heat a bit. A little bit of soy sauce. Gives it a richness and a complexity instead of regular salt. Maybe a tablespoon or a teaspoon, yeah. You know, I'm just shaking things in, but I'll put all of the measurements up in the recipe like we always do, the exact measurements. Finally, the sour part, apple cider vinegar. Now, when I said earlier, you can make this as sour or as sweet as you like. If you don't want it very sour, don't use as much vinegar. If you want it more sour, then add more vinegar. Simple. You can also make it sweeter by using maybe a little honey or agave or something like that. But I think the pineapple really stands on its own. Alrighty, now this needs to simmer for a few minutes. And what I'm going to do, because I'm just going to let this go, at the very end, right before we serve, we're going to mix in a little cornstarch slurry, which will thicken it up. I'll actually do that right now, and then it'll all simmer together and thicken. And really, all you're doing for this is getting the pineapple and the peppers softened and the onions a little softened, and letting all these flavors come together. All right, so this is thickened up nicely. Everything's softening and coming together. I'm going to give it a little taste and maybe adjust it for a little bit of seasoning. Well, I should use a tasting spoon. Caught myself. You'll all yell at me. Needs just a tiny bit more soy sauce. All right, I'm just going to let this go for one more minute. When we come back, we're going to have the tasting. Okay, we're back and we're ready to taste. Now I have here my friend Rich, who's also one of our consultants, but he was our friend long before he was a consultant for this show. So here we go. I have my pork chops ready to go. I'm just going to spoon this over the top. Now you can, if you wanted, if you're using especially a fattier piece of meat like a pork shoulder, you could put it into the sauce and let it simmer in there. I'm a big fan of just spooning over the top.
Looks delicious.
Pretty. So let's taste. You're cutting into the bone, sweetie.
Oh. That's why. Oops.
Why?
There we go. There we got some pork there.
For me, I think I just want to be alone with this pork chop. It's really good. It's very tender and juicy. You get that great play of the vinegar against the pineapple and the soy sauce, all these wonderful flavors together. And of course, we went to the wineries of Long Island, so we have to wash down with some wine.
They pair so nicely with this pork chop.
And we're having, from the Marchese wineries, Sauvignon Blanc, dry and crisp, a nice counterpoint to the sweet and sour. So that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, as always, we'll put the recipe up in the comments section, like we do every single time. Guys, keep sending in those questions. You've been putting questions in the comments, and I love it. And we're going to start talking about those questions in future episodes, but keep them coming. I'm always happy to answer. More importantly, remember to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. We need subscribers. We're getting there, but we're not quite there yet. Keep them coming. So, as always, you can check out our recipes any old time you want at youtube.com/Let's Celebrate TV. And I'll see you again next Tuesday at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Peter Lee. Thanks for joining us. Cheers!